US President Donald Trump announced a joint plan along with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu for a ceasefire in Gaza. This would be a landmark deal which could bring peace to Gaza after 2 years of a catastrophic war. Under the plan, Trump would become the temporary chairman of the International Peace Board, which is in charge of the redevelopment of Gaza. The joint appearance by Trump and Netanyahu at the White House was a clear display of unity. Trump gave an ultimatum of 72 hours once Hamas accepts this deal, else he has given full authority and the full go-ahead to Netanyahu and the Israeli military to do what they have to do.
Hamas rejects the deal, which is always possible. They're the only one left. Everyone else has accepted it. But I have a feeling that we're going to have a positive answer. But if not, as you know, Bibi, you'd have our full backing to do what you would have to do. Everyone understands that the ultimate result must be the elimination of any danger posed in the region, and the danger is caused by Hamas.
The American plan contains provisions which Hamas has to basically be demilitarized and removed from Gaza. Those who wish to leave will be given safe passage to other neighboring Arab countries who are willing to accept them. But Hamas will have no role in the future governance of Gaza. The proposal also calls for an immediate ceasefire. After the declaration of that ceasefire, Hamas will be given 72 hours to return all the Israeli hostages, both who are dead and alive. In return, Israel would release 250 prisoners who've been sentenced to life, in addition to another 1,700 Gazans who were detained after the October 7th massacre. Once all the hostages are returned, Hamas members who decommissioned their weapons would be given amnesty. While Israel would pull back its forces by degrees within the Gaza Strip, it will still maintain a sizable buffer zone inside the borders of Gaza.
But if Hamas rejects your plan, Mr. President, or if they supposedly accept it and then basically do everything to counter it, then Israel will finish the job by itself. This can be done the easy way, or it can be done the hard way, but it will be done. We prefer the easy way, but it has to be done.
Gaza would be governed by a committee called the Board of Peace, and President Trump will be the chairman of that Board of Peace, and the job of this board would be to undertake the redevelopment of Gaza. Other members of this Board of Peace would include former British Prime Minister Tony Blair. That board would govern Gaza until it determined that the Palestinian Authority, which currently governs the West Bank, has reformed itself enough to take over the administration of Gaza. This was the fourth meeting between Trump and Netanyahu since Trump's return to power in January, and every single time that they've met, there have been raised hopes for a ceasefire, but none of those previous meetings decisively ended the war in Gaza. This time, the leaders also met amidst international efforts to put forth concrete proposals for governing Gaza once the war ends. The meeting follows a week in which Israel's international isolation further deepened. Western countries like Britain, France, Australia, and Canada announced that they would be recognizing a Palestinian state despite Israeli objections. Last week, Trump also met with leaders of Arab and Muslim-majority countries in New York on the sidelines of the UNGA to discuss his administration's peace plan for a post-war Gaza. It's not quite clear what leverage Trump has, either with Netanyahu or with Hamas, if either of these two parties don't keep their end of the bargain and implement this peace deal on the ground. Despite rising international pressure, Netanyahu has opted to press on with the war against Hamas rather than compromise, until now. In fact, his far-right coalition allies have been piling on the pressure on Netanyahu's government. They are hoping to control Gaza indefinitely. In fact, they want to build Jewish settlements in the enclave and make it into a fully Jewish territory. In fact, Netanyahu has suggested that Israel would be willing to grant amnesty to those members of Hamas if they ended the war and released the hostages. Hamas so far has refused to release the remaining hostages because it fears that it will lose the only leverage it has left. The war in Gaza began on the 7th of October 2023 when Hamas led a surprise attack on Israel that killed about 1,200 Israeli citizens and saw 250 others being taken hostage. Israel launched a counterattack in Gaza, a war that has now killed over 65,000 people. On the ground, Israeli forces are sweeping through Gaza City right now. They are forcing hundreds of thousands of Gazans to flee for their lives. Many have been displaced multiple times over in the past couple of years since this war began. The enclave, the Gaza Strip, which has over 2 million people, has now been literally reduced to rubble. The war has shattered Israel's global standing as well. Netanyahu is currently wanted by the International Criminal Court on allegations of war crimes. Several of Israel's traditional allies, Britain, Canada, France, etc., have recognized a Palestinian state. Only the United States of America stands alone in being opposed to an independent Palestine. Netanyahu has responded to his critics with defiance. He has argued that Israel has gone above and beyond in protecting civilians in Gaza. They've been issuing evacuation orders before the attacks. But the Prime Minister is already looking far ahead, not just to this peace plan and ceasefire, but also possibly to the next election in his country. That election is expected to happen sometime next year. That might give Netanyahu some political incentive to agree to Trump's peace plan and wind down the campaign in Gaza. The question is, will both Hamas and Netanyahu take the bait?
Been fighting so long and so hard that they don't know what the they're doing.